evening and good morning, Your Excellencies, esteemed guests and colleagues. Welcome to the ceremony commemorating the accession of Rwanda to International Vaccine Institute. My name is Ngamije. I'm Head of Global Affairs and Communications at IVI, and I'm pleased to moderate today's very honorable event. The ceremony will begin with the welcome remarks from Mr. George Bickerstaff, Chairperson of the IVI Board of Trustees.
Good morning and afternoon, everyone. My name is George Bickerstaff, and as Chairperson of the International Vaccine Institute's Board of Trustees, I'm delighted to welcome you all today to celebrate Rwanda joining IVI. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador Yasmin Amir Sued, Ambassador Lee Jong-Koo, Ambassador Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador Anders Nordström, and distinguished guests online and at IVI's headquarters. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to particularly thank two special guests who are joining us live on Zoom who helped to make today's ceremony a reality. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, and His Excellency Nordström, Ambassador of Global Health in Sweden. We are grateful for your support and guidance as we strengthen and make new ties between IVI's key partners. In the past 2 years, 5 new member countries have joined IVI in our largest member expansion since our founding, and IVI is taking a historic step forward with the opening of a regional office in Europe this year. Our bi- and multilateral relationships with Rwanda will play a significant role in IVI's expands its global network and rises up to the full stature of a true international organization. We applaud the Rwanda Ministry of Health an innovative and responsive COVID-19 containment and communication strategy, an accomplishment that has been recognized worldwide and illustrates the critical difference of effective pandemic preparedness. We very much look forward to working closely with the government of Rwanda and partners across academia and industry to find areas of collaboration in infectious disease research, vaccine development, and pandemic response. In fact, for the first time, IVI has added 2 additional seats to its Board of Trustees this year to better reflect the interest and perspectives of IVI's member states. We're very fortunate to have a representative of Rwanda and Professor Leon Mutesa, Director of the Center for Human Genetics at the University of Rwanda, who joined his first IVI board meeting in Stockholm last month. Professor Mutesa expertise will be invaluable to IVI's leadership going forward, and we will continue to create opportunities in and with Rwanda to advance IVI's mission to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines for global health. Our priority disease areas are characterized by their association with poverty and inequity, and is outlined in the Kigali Declaration. We firmly believe that eradicating vaccine-preventable infectious diseases, such as NTDs, will help to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. We're proud to share ambitious and imperative health goals with the government of Rwanda. On behalf of everyone at IVI, our 38 other member countries, and the World Health Organization, welcome to IVI. It's an honor to raise the flag of Rwanda at our headquarters today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bickerstaff. Now we are honored to present you with the pre-recorded remarks by the Honorable Dr. Daniel Ngamije, Minister of Health of the Republic of Rwanda.
Excellency Lee Jong-Koo, Ambassador for Global Health Security, Excellency Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador of Sweden to Korea, Excellency Anders Nordström, Ambassador for Global Health, Excellency Yasmin Amri, Ambassador of Rwanda to the Republic of Korea, Mr. George Bickerstaff, Chairperson of IVI Board of Trustees. Good morning or good evening. It is a pleasure to address the esteemed audience as we celebrate the accession of Rwanda to the International Vaccine Institute, IVI, as 38 member states. The application to join IVI was based on the shared aspiration toward IVI's mission, which is to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines for global public health, while Rwanda wishes to play an active role in this domain. In order for Africa to reach the target of having at least 60% of vaccines used on the continent produced locally by 2040, Rwanda is currently pioneering with few other African member states the continental vaccine manufacturing. Therefore, Rwanda is very supportive to establish partnerships such as the one we are celebrating today. The IVI will offer research and development opportunities for vaccines through collaboration with various international partners around the world. We believe in the opportunity to work with IVI as we endeavor to establish and strengthen the research development ecosystem, supporting vaccine manufacturing efforts to be initiated in the country, the region, and the continent. Rwanda has managed to maintain a good routine vaccination coverage over the years, whereby vaccine-preventable diseases contributed to reduce tremendously infant mortality from 196 per 1,000 live births in the year 2000 to 45 per 1,000 live births in 2020. Without vaccine administered to our children, such reduction could not happen. For the response to COVID-19 pandemic, the vaccination coverage has exceeded 65% of fully vaccinated persons aged 12 years old and above in the entire population, therefore making a success for the vaccination against COVID-19. Our target is to reach 70% of coverage before the end of 2022. Excellencies, global collaboration, vaccine availability and equity, as well as strong vaccination programs are key to ending the pandemic while preserving effective routine immunization programs across all continents. To reach that goal, there is a need to support each country to invest in human capacity, health systems, and infrastructure. Support of partners such as Gavi, UNICEF, IVI, and others will enable us to reach that goal. As I conclude, I would like to express my gratitude and honor to attend this important event in our capacity as a new IVI member, but also having Professor Mutesa Leon as IVI board member as well. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister Ngamije. Now, we'd like to invite Her Excellency Yasmin Amri Swed to deliver her remarks. Ambassador Swed, please come.
Honorable Dr. Daniel Ngamije, Minister of Health of the Republic of Rwanda, Your Excellency Lee Jong-Koo, Ambassador for Global Health Security, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Korea, Your Excellency Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador of Sweden to the Republic of Korea, Your Excellency Anders Nordström, Ambassador for Global Health in the Department of UN Policy, Mr. George Bickerstaff, Chairperson of IVI Board of Trustees, and Dr. Jerome Kim, Director General of IVI. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and honor for me to celebrate with you the accession of Rwanda to the International Vaccine Institute as the 38th member state. We would first like to really commend the entire IVI team that has shown dedication, commitment, and close collaboration with our embassy staff during the preparation that led to today's event. We would like to reiterate our embassy commitment to strengthen this new and important partnership and to explore further opportunities. IVI, being one of the oldest and experienced multilateral organizations based here in Korea, we very much look forward to learning from you, from your extensive knowledge, and also from leveraging its member state expertise. We believe in the opportunity to work with IVI as we endeavor, like our minister said, to create, establish, strengthen our R&D ecosystem. Regarding the results of our COVID-19 response, Rwanda boasts and committed to invest more in our vaccination programs and infrastructure as a whole. During the Korea-Africa Forum that was held in Seoul this last December, public health was one of an important element that was discussed and agreed upon as we look into our 2022 to 2026 cooperation framework. We believe IVI, with its strong membership, would be an important contributor in implementing these goals. We once again would like to pledge our cooperation, our commitment to work with you, with IVI and all the state parties as we start today a journey to reach our common goals. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today and for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Suez, for your warm remarks. We look forward to working very closely with the government of Rwanda. Thank you very much. At this time, we'd like to give the representative of IVI member states the opportunity to deliver their congratulatory remarks. First, I'd like to invite His Excellency Jong-Koo Lee, Ambassador for Global Health Security of the Republic of Korea, to provide his congratulatory remarks.
Honorable Mr. Dr. Daniel Ngamije, the Ambassador Yasmin Amri, Ambassador Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador Anders Nordström, Mr. George Bickerstaff, Dr. Jerome, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as the Ambassador for Global Health Security of the Republic of Korea, I am honored to deliver these remarks. I am also delighted to see that another state party has joined the IVI since the last accession ceremony for the Arab Emirates in March. I'm especially delighted to hear about the Rwanda's accession for two reasons. First, Rwanda accession in March followed the discussion between Korean vice foreign ministers and Rwanda's foreign ministers in November 2021. Korea will continue to support the IVI in expanding the memberships. Second, Rwanda is one of the first two countries to be included in Board of Trustees as a non-funding state alongside the Republic of Ecuador, having more representatives from state parties, especially from Africa, the discussion of the board will undoubtedly be enriched. This COVID-19 pandemic have allowed us to face an evolving set of challenges such as health system strengthening and vaccine inequalities and human rights, etc., etc. At the same time, we must prepare ourselves for the next pandemic. We don't know what disease will be occurred in the future, but we will prepare for uncertainty. To maintain the IVI's roles in helping the world's most vulnerable people to live full, productive lives, the IVI must evolving tirelessly engaging more state parties. The Republic of Korea, as the host country for IVI headquarters, will play its due part in supporting the IVI's roles and will closely cooperate with other parts like the Republic of Rwanda. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Lee. We are honored to have another congratulatory remarks from you today. IVI is the first international organization headquartered in South Korea, and we are so grateful for Korea's long-standing support and trust in IVI. So now we invite His Excellency Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador of Sweden to Korea, to deliver his congratulatory remarks.
Honorable Dr. Daniel Ngamije, Minister of Health, Republic of Rwanda, Her Excellency Yasmin, Amri, dear colleague, Ambassador of Rwanda to the Republic of Korea, His Excellency Lee Jong-Koo, Ambassador for Global Health Security, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. George Bickerstaff, Chairperson of IVI Board of Trustees, my colleague in Stockholm, His Excellency Anders Nordström, who's Ambassador for Global Health, the Department for UN Policy, and Dr. Jerome Kim, Director General, dear friend. I am very honored to be here today to address the IVI on this important occasion. Sweden, we are a proud member of IVI since its inception in 1997, and it is with great pleasure that we now welcome Rwanda as the latest member of the IVI family, and we do this just in time for the Institute's 25th birthday. The location of IVI's headquarters in Seoul has many advantages, with the Republic of Korea as a generous host and excellent partner for vaccine development. With the IVI board's decision in November 2021 to establish a European regional office in Stockholm, our two host countries are brought even closer together. And when the meeting of the board recently was held in Sweden, the South Korean government reciprocated our embassy's engagement with IVI and sent a very strong delegation. And through the launch of a regional office, moreover, IVI is building a very important bridge to the African continent, to which we understand that the regional office will direct much attention. As a new member state, Rwanda has already shown strong interest in IVI, and your excellent nominee for the Board of Trustees was also duly elected. And we are very happy to see the eagerness of Rwanda to join our efforts. And based on our common interests, we envisage also a potential trilateral partnership between the Republic of Korea, Rwanda and Sweden in vaccines, pharmaceuticals, and health more broadly. Sweden remains committed to continued political, intellectual, and financial support for IVI, both globally and regionally. We salute the widening of its work program and growth of its membership. And we therefore again warmly congratulate Rwanda and look forward to close collaboration. My government remains committed to supporting IVI's mission to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines for global public health. And IVI's dedication to develop vaccines against diseases that mainly affect low-income countries also makes my country proud to call itself a true friend of the International Vaccine Institute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Wolvén. Sweden has been very long-standing friends of IVI from its very inception, and we got almost more than 20 years support from Sweden. Thank you very much for that. Now, we invite His Excellency Anders Nordström, who are on Zoom, Ambassador for Global Health, Department for UN Policy of Ministry for Foreign Affairs of Sweden, to deliver his congratulatory remarks.
Thank you very much. Just checking that you can hear me from this line. Can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you well.
Okay, excellent, because that is better. Colleagues, I have my background in Africa, so I say all protocol observed. But greetings from Stockholm. We are today hosting the Stockholm Plus 50 meeting, celebrating or recognizing and seeing how we can take forward 50 years of dedications to improve our environment and climate. I'm at the Arlanda airport, so it might be a little bit noisy from here. Let me first, of course, congratulate this excellent partnership in between IVI and Rwanda, and Sweden is very happy to be part of this as well. A couple of weeks ago, I was in New York presenting the one-year report from the independent panel on preparedness and response, together with Helen Clark and President Sirleaf. The Rwandan ambassador was there, but also during the work of this panel, we studied very carefully the initial what we called aggressive containment strategy to deal with the COVID pandemic in South Korea, and we very often use South Korea as the best example. I would say Rwanda today, if you look at the African continent, is a very good example of where you've been really able to roll out vaccination in a very organized and efficient way. There are many lessons to be learned from this pandemic. There's no question about that we need a well-functioning international system with good alarms, but also good tools for the response. But we do not just need an international system. We need regional organizations and structures, and we have been delighted to see how the capacity through the African Union has improved, but even more now at the national level. So what we see happening in Rwanda, I think, is an extremely important move in that direction. Today, we are in quite a difficult political situation geopolitically to be able to move on some of the necessary reforms. I know Rwanda is hosting the Heads of State's Commonwealth meeting later on this week. I hope that might be an opportunity to take more concrete decisions in terms of reforms of the international system so that we are better prepared for the future. But possibly most important, or even more important, or at least complementary, is the concrete action, the hard work, professional and passion. And that, I think, is what both Rwanda and IVI very much represents. From Stockholm, we would like to contribute to this partnership in between Rwanda and IVI, both in terms of what we have to offer in terms of top-notch, I would say, research capacity at the Karolinska Institute, but also other universities in Sweden, a very strong life science, a number of very proactive and engaged Swedish national companies that are keen not just to provide sort of technical support, but also actually to do business and trade. We have also a long history from the Swedish side working in the African continent. Personally, I've worked in many African countries back now 30 years. And that is also something we are very much appreciative of IVI's move to Sweden, not just to be able to access the European sort of region, but also to work with a partner like Sweden, who has also got long-standing commitment to working with African countries. And I can't help by ending and also recognizing the Rwandan ambassador in Stockholm, Ambassador Diane, the former Minister of Health, who's been very instrumental in also making this happen. So at the very first day, we actually launched and we went public with the interest for Sweden to engage with IVI, with the Swedish minister and together with Jerome and the board chair. We also had a video conference that morning with Honorable Minister from Rwanda and this Rwandan ambassador to Stockholm that really facilitating what is now taking place today. So my sincere congratulations and very much looking forward now to the actual working together. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Nordström. Thank you very much for your passion for global health and strong support for IVI. As he said, he was the one who made today's event possible, and we really greatly appreciate it. Now, finally, we would like to invite Dr. Jerome Kim, Director General of IVI, to provide his remarks and presentation.
Thank you very much, Ngamije. Honorable Minister of Health, Dr. Daniel Ngamije, Ambassador Yasmin Amri Sued, Ambassador Lee Jong-Koo, Ambassador Daniel Wolvén, Ambassador Anders Nordström, and distinguished guests. It is our honor to welcome you today to the ceremony commemorating Rwanda's accession to the IVI Establishment Agreement. We're delighted to welcome Rwanda as the 38th member state of IVI and anticipate a fruitful partnership with the Ministry of Health and other public and private partners across Rwanda to accelerate vaccine research and development for global public health. IVI is proud to welcome Rwanda. Rwanda has been an exemplary model in Africa for both its successful delivery of COVID-19 vaccines and its leadership in addressing the plight of neglected tropical diseases, or NTDs. In the fight against COVID-19, Rwanda has fully vaccinated 66% of its population, with nearly 70% receiving at least one dose of vaccine. This rate is among the highest in Africa, where the average vaccination rate stands at roughly 37%, and many countries are under 20%. Rwanda's success stems in part from its organizational strength. Even before vaccines were available, Rwanda prepared the necessary infrastructure and training to facilitate mass vaccination campaigns. Rwanda also hosted clinical trials for COVID-19 vaccines, joined COVAX, formed bilateral partnerships to secure access to vaccine supplies. Rwanda will soon establish an mRNA vaccine manufacturing capacity with support from BioNTech, ensuring Rwanda's capacity not only to produce COVID-19 vaccines, but to produce other vaccines of critical importance for Africa. Recently, Rwanda has taken a new leadership role in the global fight against NTDs. The Kigali Declaration, a multi-stakeholder commitment and action plan to help over 1 billion people suffering from, we quote, neglected diseases. IVI applauds Rwanda's leadership in this effort and supports the Kigali Declaration as a part of our long-standing commitment to develop vaccines for NTDs and other poverty-associated infectious diseases. IVI's vaccine portfolio includes projects for a number of NTDs, including schistosomiasis, chikungunya, and dengue, and further neglected diseases of high burden that are not on the WHO list of neglected diseases. These neglected diseases include cholera, typhoid, Shigella, non-typhoidal salmonella, Nipah virus, hantavirus, Congo-Crimean hemorrhagic fever, Group A streptococcus, hepatitis E, human papillomavirus, as well as a number of antimicrobial resistance projects. IVI's commitment to ending COVID continues. We are continuing to partner with over 24 vaccine developers around the world at every stage of vaccine development to test new and existing COVID-19 vaccines. IVI's work with companies developing COVID-19 vaccines may contribute 1.2 billion doses to the global COVAX facility, providing COVAX vaccines for people in low and middle income countries. This year, WHO announced the establishment of a global biomanufacturing training hub in South Korea with the aim of improving access to vaccines and pharmaceutical products for low and middle income countries. IVI is excited to collaborate with WHO on this effort, and this summer we will work with the government of Korea to provide 450 trainees with comprehensive know-how and skills in the development and production of biopharmaceuticals as a part of the 2022 Global Biointensive Training Courses. Working with Rwanda, IVI looks forward to a mutually beneficial partnership to develop and deliver vaccines which will protect the world's most vulnerable people. Thank you. Now a brief introduction to IVI. I think some of you have seen this already, and I apologize if you have. Can I ask for the next slide then? Oh, sorry. So IVI is a UN chartered international organization, but we are not officially a part of the United Nations. We're dedicated to accelerating vaccine research and development for global health. Our mission, which has remained the same for 25 years, is to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines for global health. Our vision is to see developing countries free from suffering from vaccine-preventable infectious diseases. We are a global vaccine research institute with field programs now in over 28 countries, with a workforce of just about 200, with 23 nationalities represented here in Seoul, and hopefully more represented once the office opens up in Stockholm. We are an OECD-recognized international organization. We were first established in Korea in 1997, and Rwanda is the 38th, and shortly after Rwanda joined, Spain also joined. That accession ceremony hasn't been held yet, but we thank both Spain and Rwanda for their recent accessioning to IVI. These are the flags of the countries that participate in IVI. This is our strategy, and no organization is without a strategy. We think that the strategies that were developed in 2015, 2018, and now in 2022 were particularly effective. What you see at the top, and this looks a little bit like a house, so if you look at the roof of the house, you see IVI's vision and mission: developing countries free from suffering from infectious diseases, and the mission, which is to discover, develop, and deliver safe, effective, and affordable vaccines. Under the roof, you see the pillars of what IVI is. In part, a research institute, which any academic or professor would recognize as a place where vaccines are initially made and tested in animals. We're also a product development partnership, something that looks a little bit like a biotechnology company, where we take those vaccines that are made in the laboratory and test them in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 studies in humans, where we do the epidemiology, surveillance, and burden studies that are necessary to establish the need for a vaccine. And then finally, to study vaccine effectiveness, to develop sound policy around the use and deployment of vaccines. And the foundation of IVI is an international organization. And I have to say now, as scientists, we have often ignored the international organization part. But if IVI wants to be an international organization, we're going to have to be international, and you can see that in the strategic initiatives. The first strategic initiative around the outside is amplify the core. That is a statement that the things that IVI does, and you'll see that IVI works across the entire vaccine value chain, need to be done better, involving more types of vaccines, involving additional funders and stakeholders, building consensus that we used to have very strongly, that vaccines are among the most cost-beneficial inventions that we've had that have impacted human health. The second very important strategic initiative is to scale the global footprint. This has to do, and George Bickerstaff says this all the time, is to make IVI, make the first I in IVI a capital I, so that we can no longer exist only in a headquarters in Seoul, but will exist in a regional office, our first regional office in Sweden, and potentially other regional offices around the world. The third part is to improve governance. And IVI actually underwent a governance exercise at the last board meeting. And we had a self-questionnaire that was filled out, and then a review by a governance consulting firm that had actually done a governance review in 2013. And in 2013, that same organization said that we were one of the most poorly governed organizations that they had ever seen. And this last time, they said that we were one of the best organizations. That improvement, I think, is very important because it says that we're making progress. But one of the very important changes that the board made was that it added two structures to make IVI a more responsive and more international organization. The first was that we added 2 non-funding members to the board. So there are a lot of countries now, 39, that are members of IVI. There are 4 funding members, Korea, Sweden, India, and Finland. It was really important to have additional voices on the board and to have input from countries where IVI works. So the addition of Rwanda as a board member and Ecuador as a board member really start to reinforce the idea that IVI needs to be aware of what is happening outside of the high-income countries that we're fortunate to count as our funding members, and to really understand the needs of countries around the world. The second part is the creation of a true global council, which is hopefully the first step towards a global assembly of countries that are member states of IVI. In order to do that, we're going to have something called a State Forum in the fall this year, and we're going to put a proposal forward at the State Forum and ask for advice from our member countries to see if this is the right direction for IVI. The goal is to have the Global Council up and running by 2023. And if we can do that, then we'll have taken the next step towards being a more international organization. Oops. These are the countries around the world where IVI works, and you can see them distributed: Latin America, Sub-Saharan Africa, South and Southeast Asia. This has been the growth of IVI, and you can see where we were in 2015 at about $21 million in total activity. This year, if everything comes in as expected, then we should be somewhere around 67 million. So roughly 3-fold increase in total activity in support of development of vaccines for global health. What you see in the pie charts, the first level of them here, are the funders for IVI. So in 2015, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was the largest funder. Now you can see that there are a significant number of additional funders. We think this diversification of funders adds an element of sustainability to the organization and makes us a bit more robust, in that if any one funder stops providing funding for global health, then IVI can count on the other funders to support the work that we do. The second is increasing the number of diseases that we work on. So in 2015, we really worked on cholera, typhoid, and dengue. And now you can see we work on a significant number of other diseases, including COVID-19. If you asked what IVI does on a day-to-day basis, the 200 people at IVI do all of the things on this chart. And it really covers everything that we do in vaccine development, from discovery to develop and to delivery, and then epidemiology, surveillance, and burden studies. If you're wondering what vaccines we work on, they're down here. These are vaccines in animal studies. These are vaccines in human clinical studies. These are approved vaccines that IVI is working on in order to refine the indications for their use, to make them easier to use, to increase their accessibility to countries around the world. And then finally, some of the examples of viruses and bacteria that IVI is working on epidemiological studies for. This is how IVI has worked with the government of Korea to enhance Korean vaccine manufacturing capability. And you can see that this is not a short story. It actually started before 2016, in 2010, during pandemic influenza, when the United States informed Korea that it might not receive the vaccine that it purchased because the United States government had the right to take that vaccine. So Korea started to think very seriously about having a protected vaccine supply, with a goal of being 80% self-sufficient and the number 5 vaccine manufacturer by 2025. So you can imagine that in 2010, when Korea was the number 11 vaccine manufacturer, that this was rather far-fetched. But starting in 2016, the government passed Vaccine 3.0, which created 2 pilot plants, one in Hwasun, one in Andong, and then also a vaccine research center. In 2018, a fund to move vaccines, drugs, and diagnostics out of university laboratories into phase 1 clinical trials, crossing what we call the first valley of death, where good ideas die in the laboratory and they're never turned into products that can actually be tested in humans or used in humans. In 2020, the government of Korea created the research infrastructure and funding around vaccine platforms. So training people to be technicians and PhDs, preparing the academic community for new work in innovative vaccines. And then finally, in 2021, the $2 billion K-Vaccine Hub, which we can talk a little bit more about later. So I'm going to go through this very quickly. But basically, IVI acts on needs. In the case of the picture on the left, the need for a safe and effective cholera vaccine. Starting in the laboratory, working with technology transfer to developing country vaccine manufacturers, proving that the vaccine works, working with organizations including WHO and Gavi and UNICEF to get the vaccine purchased, put in a stockpile, and made accessible to countries around the world, working in vaccination programs to prove that the vaccines did what we said they were going to do, lower the burden of death and disease from cholera, and then finally to the impact that IVI is seeking in the gray box. This is an example of the vaccines that IVI has developed. So in this sense, we're a bit like a biotech company and a bit less like a university research institute. Vaccine number 1, you can see 3 different pre-qualified vaccines coming from oral cholera vaccine. Vaccine number 2 is now a reality since the typhoid conjugate vaccine from SK Bioscience was recently approved by the Ministry of Food and Drug Safety, and the dossier has now been submitted to WHO for pre-qualification. And we're working on vaccine number 3, which is a vaccine against non-typhoidal salmonella. IVI made an initial investment. The Wellcome Trust has made a subsequent investment. The cost of developing these vaccines, and these are costs to the Gates Foundation, were not $1 billion. It did not take 10 years. It cost the Gates Foundation $28 million for the oral cholera vaccine and $33 million for the typhoid conjugate vaccine. And actually, we're returning $4 million unused from vaccine number 2. So we are able to execute vaccine research and development in a cost-effective manner. These are examples of vaccination programs. These are some of our 160 partners around the world, including not only the government of Korea, but other governments as well, universities, philanthropic organizations, and industrial partners. And that's it. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you, Jerome. Before we going out for the flag raising ceremony, we will have 2 photo sessions. So inside the building, one is the first group photo on Zoom. So I'd like to invite Jerome and Your Excellencies come forward to the screen to have a group photo on Zoom with Ambassador Anders Nordström. The flag of the Republic of Rwanda will be now raised while the national anthem is played. Now, the national anthem of IVI's host country, the Republic of Korea, will be played.